excited. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and hello if you're new here. Thank you so much for joining. This is one of the most exciting vlogs I think I've had to film ever since I started my channel back in January, because it is the run up to spooky season. So as of when I'm starting, it is going to be Halloween next week. So I thought what I'm going to do is just read spooky, paranormal, dark fantasy, thriller-esque books between now and Halloween, just to sort of like get myself in the mood in the run up to spooky season, and just do like a Halloween-ish, a Halloween-themed readathon together. I thought that would be really fun to do. I've got a lineup of books here that I thought I could read in this. I don't know how many of them I'm going to be able to get through between now and then. There's 2 dark romances in the stack, and then 1 like kind of dark romance, which I think I'm going to start today, but I'm going to go through and show you guys the lineup for my readathon leading up to Halloween. I'm so excited, like I'm honestly so excited. So here are all the books. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 books here, which is obviously a lot. That's like a book a day. However, 1 book is a novella, which I'll get around to in a second, and I'm definitely going to read it. But let me show you guys what's on the lineup. So the first up is Sophie Lark's newest release, which is Monarch. I love this cover, by the way. If you are familiar with Grimstone, this is the 2nd book in like the Grimstone series. I did read Grimstone when it released last year. It was okay. It's more like a gothic, this isn't like the scariest in the world. It's more like a gothic romance in like a dark, eerie setting. Grimstone was okay, like I didn't mind it, but Monarch, this is set in the same town. Instead of in like in a house with a neighbour, this is set in a hotel. That's the Monarch Hotel that's set in the town. And it says on the back here, all types of people pass through my hotel, the best and the bravest, the cruelest and the most selfish, and sometimes the dark and deeply depraved. And it's basically about an arranged, or like a marriage of convenience situation, age gap sort of thing. I'm not going to read the full synopsis to you, but it says at the bottom, it says, isolated far from home, Elena's only ally is Atlas Covett, the owner of the Monarch Hotel. Massive and stern, even Atlas's employees are terrified of him. He becomes Elena's unexpected protector, offering solace and sanctuary from the darkness that threatens to consume her. As Elena's bond with Atlas deepens, her jealous fiancé exerts his control in increasingly twisted ways. Elena must find a way out before the castle he's building becomes a prison she'll never escape. So by the sounds of it, is it like a bit of a love triangle situation or something? I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds really, really good, and I've heard it's quite spooky, quite eerie. So I think this would be the perfect book to start off with for this week. I'm going to start this book tonight. I read a book by Sophie Lark recently. I read Minx by her. Loved it. Sophie Lark is like one of my comfort authors. Like I can just rely on one of her books to be quick, easy and fun every single time. So I think I'm going to start with Monarch. Also in the lineup, not sure if I'll get around to this one, but it's the perfect time of year to read it. If I do get round to it, it might not be on the vlog, but it's the 2nd book in the Souls trilogy by Harley Leary, which is Her Soul for Revenge. And this is a paranormal dark romance, and it has like demons and witches and that kind of stuff in it. I didn't love Her Soul to Take. I think that's a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I didn't really love it. However, this is the perfect time of year for this. So if I'm feeling a dark romance, I could pick this out. Now this is a dark fantasy that I'm seeing everybody rave about at the moment, and that is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I really, really want to read this. I was quite surprised when it came to see that it's not as hefty and chunky as I thought it was going to be, so I'm quite pleased about that. I think I'm going to read this because I really do enjoy fantasy at the moment, especially dark fantasy. It's like I've discovered the genre and I'm just kind of obsessed. So a dark fantasy romance, so Phantasma is also on the list. Now these are the books that intrigue me the most. First book is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. And basically this says, dark and dangerous things happen around the Hollow sisters ever since they disappeared as children, only to reappear a month later with no memory of what happened to them. Odd, eerie occurrences follow in their wake. When Grey, the eldest, goes missing again, Iris and Vivi are left to figure out the mystery, but they aren't the only ones looking for her. As they brush against the supernatural, Iris realises it's the world that returned them 10 years ago might be calling them back, but just how much horror lies beneath the surface. Does that not sound so interesting? And also the book is actually like so much shorter than I thought. It's only it's just shy of 300 pages, but it sounds really interesting. It's like a mystery thriller sort of vibe. I've seen this floating around on Bookstagram and I had to pick it up. I also really like the cover. I find the cover really intriguing, but so excited to read that. I found that book. This was not on my radar at all, but through looking up the author on Goodreads, Crystal Sutherland, I then found this book called The Invocations. Okay, I love her covers, by the way. I think they're amazing. This sounds seriously good. I think this is actually like horror, I'm not sure. Emma Bryn is haunted, hunted and increasingly terrified as her clients, all desperate women willing to sell a piece of their soul for a scrap of magical power, are all being killed off one by one. Jude Wolfe, rich as sin and handsome as the devil, but she's also cursed. Her immortal soul is tethered to a demon and her body is decaying. She needs a solution fast. Zara Jones' sister has been murdered, but Zara has no time to grieve. She's set on revenge and on bringing her sister back from the dead. The clock is ticking. Then it says, Emma, Jude and Zara's lives are now unavoidably intertwined. All three damaged young women, one cursed, one hunted and one out for revenge, must track down and eliminate a brutal supernatural killer before they too become victims. And it says, a haunting horror thriller from the acclaimed Crystal Sutherland. I mean, that just sounds insane. It sounds insane. And then the last book, and this is a novella, and it's by Avina St. Graves. So if you read dark romance, you'll probably be familiar with Skin of a Sinner. I think she's wrote a book called like Fiery Little Thing. I haven't read anything by her yet, even though I do have Skin of a Sinner on my shelves. But this is, by the way, again, another amazing cover. You know how I feel about covers on my books. Called Death's Obsession, and this is a paranormal romance, and I think Death is literally the love interest. I've only read that once before in Belladonna, and I did not like Belladonna at all, so hopefully I like this a hell of a lot more. I think it's pretty messed up. Like, I was reading the reviews for it on Goodreads and people were saying like some of the scenes in this are absolutely insane. I think there's like dream or nightmare sequences in it with Death himself and stuff. It's just meant to be really dark, paranormal, perfect for this time of year. So that is also on the lineup. If for any reason I happen to, I don't know, buy another book in the course of the next week or find anything that I feel like I could add to my TBR, I may do. But yes, we're gonna start this vlog here. I was gonna do like just thrillers, but I just felt like I wanted it to be a little bit more Halloween focused as opposed to like just psychological thrillers. But these are, I mean, these three books intrigue me the most, and I feel like I'm definitely going to get around to them. But we're going to ease in. We're going to ease into this, to the freaky and the scary, and we're going to start with Monarch by Sophie Lark. I think that is this is today's choice. I do get scared quite easily. Like, I freak myself out. I have a very overactive imagination, so some of those other books do sound like they're quite freaky, but it's the, you know, you can only do this once. It's only Halloween once a year. I wish it was Halloween more than once a year, but it's my favourite. I think aside from Christmas, Halloween is just like my all-time favourite holiday. I think it's so fun, and especially like as a reader, and yeah, it's just great. Guys, I absolutely love the artwork that Sophie Lark puts in her books. Like, look at the character art. She has an illustrator for all of her books. Let me just try and find like some other ones. God, I love it. And then let me just find another one. I'm trying not to like find any spoilers whilst I look, just so that I can show you some of this artwork, because I just think it's so beautiful, and I feel the same about every single one of her books. Oh my God, that one's amazing. I just love, and also just love Sophie Lark's covers in general. Like, I think she does such a good job with the covers on her books, because you know how I feel about pretty covers. But anyway, so a little update. I am about 50 pages into Monarch, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. So originally, my very, very first impressions was that I was kind of going to love it, because it was giving me American Horror Story Hotel. If anybody's watched that series, or that series from American Horror Story in particular, I really, really enjoy it. It's really good. And I love the creepy hotel vibes and, you know, the setting of Grimstone in general, because I've already read the first book, which is called Grimstone. It was giving me that. But then actually, as the story's gone on, I, for some reason, thought this was going to be like a romantic suspense thriller sort of thing, but it's, I mean, I'm only 50 pages in, but it's not. I think Lorne is not who he says he is, but there's a second love interest that's been introduced, and I didn't realise it was going to be that. I thought it was going to be a arranged marriage situation, but anyway, that's fine. I'm literally so early on into it. I think she's met Atlas, and I think it's a bit insta-lust, in my opinion. I hate insta-lust. I think it only works if you are reading a stalker romance, because obviously it's going to be insta-lust. You kind of know what you're getting yourself in for. So I'm not loving it in this setting so much. I really hope that the book itself isn't like that, because Sophie Lark does have a tendency to do that in her books, a bit insta-lust, a bit insta-love. I think if you know that when you pick up her books and you can get past it, then that's okay. I love Sophie Lark, but I do feel like a lot of her, I've read 6 of her books now, and yeah, they are quite insta-lusty. But anyway, that's my update so far. Very early days. I will come back when I'm about halfway through and give you guys a proper update. Okay, I am halfway through, and it's not really the book that I thought it was going to be. In terms of spooky and eerie vibes, yes, ticks all the boxes, but the setting isn't focusing on that enough, in my opinion, and I think that the romance is quite lacking. The relationship developments between the characters is pretty lacking. I'm like enjoying it, but I'm not gripped by it in any way. I thought it was going to be a lot more mysterious feeling and eerie and spooky and everything, but it's not. I'm not getting that from the book. Everything feels very surface level. I wouldn't even say rush. I just feel like it's quite bland, in my opinion. I'm just not loving it. I don't know, I mean, I would say I don't feel like I'm in a reading slump or anything like that, because sometimes that can happen when I feel like I'm in a bit of a slump, but I just literally read Minx by Sophie Lark and I rated it 4.25 stars. I loved it. So I don't think I'm in a reading slump. I just think that this isn't quite hitting the mark really for me at the moment, but we'll keep going. I'm only halfway through, and I will come back and check in when I'm either nearly finished with the book or when I'm at the end of the book. Oh, and just quickly, like a quick update as well. Also, both of the MMCs are giving me the ick, and whilst I completely understand that Lorne's character is supposed to give us the ick, Atlas's character isn't, but he is. He is so possessive over her for absolutely no reason. This is what I mean when I say insta-lust. They have barely spoken to each other, barely developed a relationship or even a friendship, really. The way he talks about her, the things he expects her to do, like he literally wants her to leave a relationship with somebody else, and it's just giving me the ick, and Atlas isn't supposed to do that, so... But we'll keep going. I feel like every time I say this in a vlog that I'm going to rate a book 5 stars, I end up giving it just shy of 5 stars. So let's not get carried away with ourselves. But this is the perfect book for this time of year. The vibes are immaculate. It's kind of a little bit Stranger Things coded. I'm trying to mesh together what this book is like. It's kind of like if Stranger Things and The Unmaking of June Farrow and Lovely Bad Things had a baby. Which is a crazy combination of books, but if you've read any of them, or all of them, read this, and if you have read any of them and all of them and read this, I feel like you potentially agree. So I didn't realise that there was going to be some sort of like magical realism element to it. Love that so much. It is super spooky, super freaky. Like one of the scenes actually made me jump. There was a scene where 2 of the sisters, because basically what happens, House of Hollow, is it follows 3 of the Hollow sisters, and they disappear when they're kids for like a month, and they come back and they can't remember what happened in the month that they were gone, and nobody can explain their disappearance. And ever since they've come back, weird things happen to them. They can do weird things, and it's kind of witchy, but they're not witches, just changed. And one of the sisters, this is like present day, one of the sisters goes missing, and at the moment they're trying to figure out what happened to her, and there's a scene where they follow some clues that her sister left to an apartment, and it's all set in London and stuff, which I love because I can really picture exactly where they are. And there is a scene where they're in a house, and there's also another, not like even a suspect, but there's another character who we don't really know much about, who is also keeps appearing where they are, and he arrives as well, and he's in this like really scary like ball mask, very freaky, and it made me jump because you think they're alone in this house, they're discovering all these clues, and I was like immersed into this scene, and then he appears out of nowhere, and it actually made me jump. It's so good. It's perfect, and the writing is amazing. Really good prose, and I feel like I'm noticing it since reading Monarch, because you can tell like when you go from one book, which I wouldn't say like Monarch is poorly written, it's just it's it is pretty bland and nothing really to like rave home about, but this, you can tell the writing is so good. So absolutely loving this. This was the perfect next pick, and I just feel like I'm gonna get freaked out reading it, but then also I kind of want to be a bit freaked. I don't know. Guys, please, my heart is pounding. My heart is pounding. I've actually been reading with just the lamp on, but I had to put my light on. I'm getting really immersed into it. Like, it really sucks and draws you into the world. And so sometimes I've been sort of, you know, half forgetting that I'm reading, and then it freaks me out and I'm like, oh, it's just all a bit eerie and a bit like weird, but it's so good. I feel like I could rate this 5 stars. I am loving it. And I also like everything you think you know, you don't know. And all the theories and things, I'm trying to form theories in my head as to what it is that's happening. The pacing's great. We're being drip fed information. I really as well love the way, is it Crystal? Yeah, Crystal Sutherland is developing, like has created, within 80 pages of this book, I knew how important these sisters were to each other without feeling like it was an info dump, which I feel like is really well done. The introduction of Tyler, which is the ex-boyfriend, great side character. Honestly, he is so great, because the book is not that long. It is 280 pages, I think. So to create a full novel of this genre that it is, like basically romantic, suspense, thriller, magical realism, mystery, it's so good. It's so good. Guys, I'm scared. This is so tense. This is so tense. I'm having so much fun with this book, in case you couldn't tell. Well, like, I'm kind of like, I'm not having fun, but I'm having fun at the same time. My heart is racing. It is pounding. I feel like I can't breathe. I'm going to make some inroads into this, turn off my light and just read with my lamp, and I will be back to update you guys tomorrow. To be honest, like, if I really... What time is it now? I feel like I could potentially finish this tonight, so if I do, I can come back with my full review. Reading update. I have just finished House of Hollow. I did that thing again where I come on here and I'm like, I think I'm gonna give this 5 stars, and I didn't quite give it 5 stars, but I gave it 4.25 stars. This was so good. It had all the spooky vibes. It was amazing. It's extremely Stranger Things coded. I think I might have mentioned that in an update. I love the vibe of it. I think if any of you have read The Unmaking of June Farrow, or you like things with magical realism and things like that in it, you would absolutely love this book. It was quite freaky. I think the first half of the book was a bit freaky than the second half. I think once you realise where the story's going and what the storyline is and what the tropes are and sort of what's happening, it becomes a little bit less scary. But this was so good. It was fast paced. The writing is impeccable. I was really blown away by it, because this is the first book I've read by this author, so obviously you don't really know what to expect, but it was so good. The perfect read for this time of year. I absolutely loved it. I do highly recommend it, and it's quite unique. It's very different. I honestly can't think of many things that I've read that are similar to this, so I absolutely loved this book. In terms of my next book, I think I'm going to go with this. Is it a novella? Yeah, it's definitely a novella. It's only about 170 pages. Death's Obsession by Avina St. Graves. Now, I've not read anything by this author either, but I do have another one of her books on my physical TBR, but I've not read it yet. And this is meant to be a story about, I think, where Death himself is like a personification of him or something, and he is the MMC, and I love the idea of it. It's meant to be really spicy, pretty different and pretty weird. Like, when I was reading the Goodreads reviews for it, a lot of people were saying that it's a bit messed up, but it's so good, especially as, you know, for a dark romance reader. Something short, quick and spicy. This obviously should only take me maybe, like, I'll start it tonight, I should finish it by tomorrow. It's not that long, it depends how busy I'm gonna be. I'm so excited to read this. In terms of first impressions, super eerie. Definitely eerie, very intriguing. It either draws you in or you just think, okay, I'm going to give it some time. Already, I am so drawn in. It is super mysterious and I've already got so many questions I need answering, and considering it's a novella, that's a great start because there's not a lot of pages in this book to give, you know, if it's not good halfway through but you're reading like a 400-page book, you've still got 200 pages. You don't get that with a novella. So yeah, first impressions, really good. If I wasn't at work tomorrow, I would sit here for the rest of the night and read this until the early hours of the morning. That's how I feel already, and I've only just started the book, so this is a great start. By St. Graves. It was probably one of the weirdest books I think I have ever read, and I actually only rated it 2 stars, which I actually don't feel like I was going to rate it 2 stars until I maybe got about halfway through, which was only 70 pages, no, about, I'm not sure how many pages, but the book itself was only 173 pages, but I think that's where she went wrong. Sometimes I think with ideas like this, a novella isn't enough time to explore that kind of story, and I think that that's where like the author probably should have just made this full length or like at least 300 pages, because one of my biggest problems with this was that Death himself, so obviously Death is a personification in this and is the MMC, and I love that idea. I think it's so interesting and it's quite different. I've only read one other book like that, which was Belladonna, which ironically I also DNF'd, but that wasn't for that reason. That was because it was like a historical romance and I thought it was meant to be more mystery. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. The problem I had here was that Death himself had absolutely no depth or anything to him at all. He just kind of existed. He was just there, and we didn't really know anything about him. We didn't know how long he'd been here, like what's he seen, what's his life been like nothing. None of that was explored at all, and I think because of that, you just felt so disconnected to him. And it is a stalker romance, and he does leave letters, and his speech is extremely poetic, and he leaves her poems and essentially talks in poems. And as much as I can see what she was trying to do with his character, because we didn't really know him, it was throwing me out way too much, and I thought actually the letters that he was leaving her were really creepy. I think you could see them one of 2 ways. You could either take it as, that's really sweet. Obviously you shouldn't see it that way, but you could think like, oh, the things that he's saying is beautiful, or you could find it a bit creepy, and I found it extremely creepy. And also there's no tension at all, like absolutely no tension between the two of them. It's very 0 to 100, and it just wasn't my favourite book, to be honest. I think she just needed to develop the relationship more, give us more depth to the story and the characters. And the spice was okay. Like obviously there's a lot of scenes where it's like it's in her dreams that they're doing the business together and things like that, and obviously so that's super spicy, and I was definitely enjoying the first half of the book more than the second half. There's also something he does in this book to her which there's no repercussions for it or anything, and I was just like, oh, do you know what, like I just was kind of over it by that point. So it wasn't the best read. I am going to pick up Phantasma next, but I do think I'm going to end the vlog here because I also want to start a new vlog, which is reading all my 5-star predictions. I'm off work. I've got 2 days left at work and then I'm off work for a whole week, but it kind of equates to like 10 days off for me, which I'm so excited for. Another update before I do end the vlog, and it is quite on brand for the kind of vlog that I'm doing, but I actually started on audio earlier on in the week. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. So let me just see how far into it. Now, I have said before, I'm not an audiobook person, but I have had so many people say to me that this audiobook is meant to be amazing, like the production of it and everything, it takes it so much further than other audiobooks do. So I thought I would try it because I had a free credit on my Audible account, which I have actually cancelled now, but I had 1 credit left to use. I started it when I was clipping one of my horses the other evening, because it's just, if you have horses, you know that job is so tedious and you're just stood there like for hours. So I started it on my AirPods and it is so good. So I am essentially reading a thriller at the moment as well. So I've got 7 hours and 53 minutes left of it. I think I've listened to about 2.5 hours or nearly 3 hours of it so far, and it is seriously good. So I'll definitely keep that updated on like my Goodreads Bookstagram, and obviously eventually in a reading update as well on my channel. But yeah, so that is how far. I don't actually know if you can see, but I did start that on Audible and I'm absolutely loving it. So I'm going to finish the vlog here, guys, get this up in time for Halloween. Let me know what books you guys have been reading in the spooky season. Have you been reading thrillers? Have you been reading horror? I haven't actually ever read horror, so maybe next year, this time next year, I'll try something like that. Have you been reading fantasy, dark fantasy? Like, what is your genre of choice throughout spooky season? Because I think for me, it's just definitely like dark fantasy, thriller-esque dark romances. I think that's where I've got to so far, which isn't that exciting really, is it? I definitely need to try horror because I have got a few on my TBR, like on my list on my phone that I really want to try. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming content, and I'll see you in my next video.